The journey of becoming exceptional. Nietzsche's path to the Übermensch. The legacy of Nietzsche's thought. Friedrich Nietzsche, a name synonymous with philosophical revolution, was not merely a thinker of his time. He was an intellectual pioneer whose ideas have continued to influence and challenge contemporary philosophy, psychology, art, and beyond. Born in 1844 in the small town of Rücken, Germany, Nietzsche's life was marked by hardship, mental and physical health struggles, and a rebellion against societal and religious norms. Despite, or perhaps because of these difficulties, Nietzsche's philosophy emerged as a call for radical self-empowerment, individuality, and the rejection of traditional morality. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or Superman, is perhaps his most famous and enduring idea. But what does it mean to be an Übermensch? And how does one achieve this state of being? This essay will explore the essence of Nietzsche's philosophy, focusing on his ideas about human nature, self-overcoming, the death of God, and the power of the will. Along the way, we will reinterpret Nietzsche's profound ideas in a fresh light, shedding new perspectives on his thoughts, while remaining faithful to the core of his beliefs. Nietzsche's early life and intellectual formative years. Nietzsche's early years were defined by both personal tragedy and intellectual curiosity. His father, a Lutheran pastor, died when Nietzsche was only 5 years old, and his younger brother followed shortly after. These early losses left a lasting emotional impact on Nietzsche, sparking an early sense of isolation. He grew up in a deeply religious environment, one that would eventually come into conflict with his burgeoning philosophical independence. From an early age, Nietzsche exhibited intellectual brilliance. He was a student at the University of Bonn by the age of 20, and his early academic interests were shaped largely by German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, whose pessimistic philosophy resonated with Nietzsche's emerging dissatisfaction with life. Nietzsche also developed an early interest in the works of Richard Wagner, the famous composer, whose romantic ideals of artistic creativity would influence Nietzsche's own thinking on individualism and the role of art in human life. However, Nietzsche's academic career was marred by conflict with other scholars and the inability to find a secure intellectual home. By the time he was in his early 30s, Nietzsche had already begun questioning the very foundations of the academic system, feeling that it was overly rigid and unable to account for the complexities of human existence. He was appointed professor of classical philology at the University of Basel in 1869. But his health began to deteriorate shortly thereafter, leading him to resign from his post after only a few years. The death of God. Nietzsche's radical rejection of religion. One of Nietzsche's most striking and controversial declarations was the statement, "God is dead." At first glance, this phrase may appear to be a literal rejection of the existence of a deity, but Nietzsche's meaning was far more profound and complex. In essence, Nietzsche was commenting on the societal shifts brought about by the rise of science, secularism, and the Enlightenment. As traditional religious beliefs were increasingly questioned, particularly in Europe, Nietzsche observed that humanity was losing its sense of purpose, as many had relied on religious faith to provide meaning and structure to their lives. For Nietzsche, the death of God did not merely signify the rejection of Christianity, but the collapse of a value system that had sustained Western civilization for centuries. Without the moral authority of God, Nietzsche warned, humanity would be left in a state of nihilism, a dangerous void, where life had no inherent meaning. This nihilistic crisis was something Nietzsche saw as unavoidable in the modern age, and his call to overcome it was the intellectual genesis of the Übermensch. The Übermensch is the answer to the nihilistic dilemma. It is a vision of humanity that goes beyond the moralities of the past and seeks to forge new values based on strength, creativity, and individual will. In this new world, the Übermensch represents the pinnacle of human potential, someone who creates meaning from within themselves, rather than relying on external authorities. The will to power, the core of Nietzsche's philosophy. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the will to power, a dynamic force that drives all living beings to assert their strength and master their environment. Unlike traditional views that placed reason or morality at the center of human existence, Nietzsche saw the will to power as the fundamental force that propels individuals towards self-actualization and greatness. The will to power is not merely a desire for domination over others, but the drive to transcend one's limitations, to push the boundaries of human potential, and to reshape the world in alignment with one's vision. For Nietzsche, the Übermensch embodies the ultimate expression of the will to power. The Übermensch does not live by societal norms or the expectations of others. They create their own values and live according to their own desires and goals. This process of self-creation, or self-overcoming, is essential for achieving true greatness. The Übermensch is not simply an individual who gains power over others, but someone who masters their own instincts, weaknesses, and desires, becoming the fullest version of themselves. The will to power is also closely connected to Nietzsche's idea of the eternal recurrence, a thought experiment in which one imagines living their life over and over again, eternally. If an individual can embrace the idea of eternal recurrence, living their life in such a way that they would willingly repeat it forever, they have reached the pinnacle of existence. This mindset pushes individuals to live fully, to embrace their passions and desires, and to shape their fate with deliberate intention. The Übermensch, beyond good and evil. One of Nietzsche's most famous concepts is the Übermensch, often translated as Superman or Overman. But the term Übermensch goes beyond the idea of physical strength or dominance. It refers to an individual who has transcended the limitations of conventional morality, someone who has overcome the traditional boundaries of good and evil. In a world where the religious and philosophical systems of the past no longer hold sway, the Übermensch is the creator of new values. The Übermensch represents the next step in human evolution. Unlike the last man, who seeks only comfort and security, the Übermensch embraces the struggle of life, seeking to grow, to create, and to transcend the ordinary. The Übermensch does not seek approval from society or adhere to societal norms, but forges their own path, driven by an inner strength and an unyielding will to power. In this sense, Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch is deeply connected to his rejection of herd mentality. Society often pressures individuals to conform, to adopt shared values and ideas without questioning them. Nietzsche warned against this conformity, urging individuals to reject the comfortable safety of the herd and to embrace the challenging path of the Übermensch. The Übermensch does not seek to control others, but to master themselves, shaping their life according to their own desires, and creating a new set of values that reflects their inner truth. Living dangerously. Nietzsche's call to action. Nietzsche's philosophy is not merely theoretical, it is a call to action. His famous declaration, "Live dangerously," is not a prescription for reckless behavior, but an invitation to embrace the challenges of life with courage and strength. To live dangerously is to confront the chaos of existence head-on, to reject the comfort of the status quo, and to seek out the unknown. It is about taking risks, challenging established norms, and living a life of purpose, no matter how difficult or uncertain the path may be. This call to live dangerously also ties into Nietzsche's concept of the eternal recurrence. If one can imagine living their life repeatedly, without change, for all eternity, they are encouraged to live in such a way that each moment is meaningful and significant. Life, for Nietzsche, is not something to be endured, but something to be lived with passion and intent. The role of art and the artist in Nietzsche's philosophy. Art holds a special place in Nietzsche's philosophy. For Nietzsche, art is not just a form of entertainment or expression, but a means of transcending the limitations of everyday life. In his early works, Nietzsche admired the way that art, particularly in the form of tragedy, had the power to reveal the deeper truths of existence. Art allows individuals to confront the chaos and suffering of life in a way that provides meaning and insight. Nietzsche saw the artist as a creator in the truest sense, someone who brings new perspectives to the world and challenges conventional wisdom. The artist, like the Übermensch, must be willing to embrace the chaos of existence and transform it into something beautiful, meaningful, and unique. This idea of artistic creation as a form of self-overcoming ties into Nietzsche's broader philosophy of self-empowerment and the rejection of passive conformity. Nietzsche's legacy, a guide to overcoming limits. Nietzsche's philosophy offers a roadmap for overcoming the limits of traditional thought, moral systems, and societal constraints. His emphasis on self-empowerment, individuality, and the creative will to power provides a powerful antidote to the nihilism of the modern world. Nietzsche's call to become the Übermensch, to live dangerously, and to forge new values is as relevant today as it was in his own time. While Nietzsche's ideas may seem radical or even controversial, they challenge us to question our own assumptions, to transcend the limitations of conventional thinking, and to live a life of intentionality, purpose, and self-creation. The Übermensch is not a distant ideal, but a possibility for each of us to strive toward as we confront the challenges and chaos of life. By embracing Nietzsche's call to self-overcoming and the will to power, we can transcend the ordinary and step into the extraordinary, becoming the authors of our own lives and creators of new meaning in a world that often seems devoid of purpose.